Yeah, and welcome to a lesson on how to just tighten up your rhythm playing. I'm Brett Papa, and we're going to work on, just a basic chord progression with some different picking patterns and some different, rhythmic ideas, keeping in mind that we're going to try to play to a drum track where it's really going to matter. A lot of times we just jam by ourselves on the couch, and it's like, I have perfect timing. And then you actually play to a track and you find out, wow, I need help. And so that's what this lesson is designed to do. Now we're playing to a drum track. The drum track is going to be in a link down below in the description box. So make sure you click for that link if you want to practice with the drum loop. And there's also some free how to solo better links, all that kind of stuff. So always check the description box down below and subscribe so you know the new videos coming out. So what we're going to do is, just take a basic, not too distorted tone, and then we're going to introduce a chord progression. So in this instance, E minor, C, and then G, right? And the G is just going to be each G note on the E's, and then I'm going to come in like I got a C chord happening here. Kind of Rolling Stones-ish, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put in some arpeggiated, picking style runs. Right, a little pattern. So it doesn't have to be exact. This one's like E, A, G, D, B, G, D, G. Again, slowly. Right, something super basic on the E. Then we switch to the C, and then we can do a little hammer on. Right, so, right, it doesn't matter what the notes are that you're picking, just arpeggiate the C chord. You got a little, and this is cool because these notes, right, in that particular riff that I did, I'm hammering on open D to the 2nd fret, and then I'm picking the G note, and then say I go right to A and then back to the open D. Well, implying that implies you're going to the G chord, right? You got an open D and an open G. So that's a cool thing to start doing, while you're playing. Try to lead the ear or the listener into the chord that's coming up, and a great way to do that is these little licks. And then also pay attention to the kick and the snare, right? That's the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat. I mean, that is your just God at this point, right? When you're playing guitar, and your drummer's going to love hearing that. He is the man or the woman or the machine that is keeping everything glued together. And if you can get, in that zone and in that groove with the drummer and everybody lines up, that's when everything starts to feel really good. So as we progress being a player and we start playing with other people, first it's going to be like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm just playing with other people. And you're not even going to listen to anybody else. You're just going to zone in on yourself and am I doing this right? Yeah, maybe, but right also includes being able to hear the other musicians and really get into and syncopate and get all glued into the rhythm that's being created. Now, hopefully everyone's listening to the drummer or something like that. The one that keeps the best time, right? If it's the bass player, drummer listen to the bass player, and everybody listen to the drummer and the bass player together. They're the foundation. That's how it goes, right? So let's get the drum groove going and just maybe practice on that E minor chord. Listen to those kicks and those snares where they're happening, and try to make sure that the arpeggiated notes are hitting on those, right? Or lining up. You also have that hi-hat, right? That gives you plenty of opportunity to hit a note. So line up with that hi-hat too. Listen to that whole kit, right? So maybe you mute so everything sounds a little bit tighter, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Maybe you start off with that. And then you just practice going from E minor to C, right? Sounds really robotic, really mechanical, but you got to get through that, right? Then you can start adding the feel. You let some notes ring, you mute other notes, maybe you add some of those hammer-on licks in there, right? So we got... Right? And then it's always good to come in and have a chord that rings, right? Maybe you let it ring longer than the other ones, and then you gotta work your way back into the rhythm and make sure that you come back in at the right time. So say we got... So I came in on an up, right? One of those kicks was on an upbeat. It wasn't on a downbeat. So I had to, you have to feel it, right? Keep your body moving. If you notice, watch people that are really good when they play. Like go back and watch a bunch of old classic rock bands and look at the people. They're always moving, right? They're singing, they got their foot going, they got their body moving. You want to get so you're feeling that groove, and the best way to do it is to get your body involved in it so you're feeling that beat and you start to sync up with that beat. If you just stay stiff, it's really hard to feel it, right? You got to get loose, loosen up. And when your body can feel the beat, then your hands have a lot better time staying in time. That would not have flown as a good sentence in like 5th grade English class. You'll have a lot better chance staying in time with the rhythm. Gold star sentence. All right, so, work with that. So maybe we get our body moving, and you're just going to see this body shot of me anyway. So maybe you see the Journey, like, Beatle, moving around a little bit. Okay, so here we go. Or my foot, or my leg. Anatomy 101. My foot, right here. Okay, so we got... doesn't help that when I'm doing this lesson, I keep talking and I come in on different parts of the beat. So I got to modify what I'm doing, but it's listening. It's like, oh, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but let's manipulate it so it sounds like I meant to do that. And that happens a lot here, you'll notice. But anyways, the point is, start jamming. With the abundance of drum tracks, jam tracks, all that stuff on the internet, really avail yourself of that, right? For free. Download the jam tracks here. I have jam tracks to play to a lot. I have drum loops, all that kind of stuff. Really, really make sure that you do that, because that's when you really start to know and feel what it feels like to really play with people, right? So then when you have that opportunity, and maybe it's, your first time playing with a drummer, but you've played with drum loops forever, right? It's not so foreign, and it's easier to do. And then the guy's like, hey man, Bob down the street's actually pretty good at guitar. Maybe we should have him come into the band. And suddenly, before you know it, you're playing in front of people, and that is when the rubber meets the road. But point being, you'll have a lot of experience jamming to a rhythm, which is huge. That's the number one thing I find with all my students, whenever I take on students or whatever. A lot of them can play, and they can play licks, and some of them can play licks pretty good, but you throw on a beat, that's a whole different story, because they've practiced learning off the internet, but never really to a song or, to anything that keeps in time. So I guarantee you, if you're a chord strummer and can keep in time really well, you'll more often than not get a gig than the ripping, guitar player that can't play in time. So hugely important if you want to be in a band. Practice, practice, practice to beats. Okay, so one more time, we'll just mess around. E minor, C, G. I'll go to that F chord. C, and then I'll scoot the C chord up to a D. Right? I picked those chords because they sound really good ringing. And so just mess around with those chords, right? E minor, C, G, right? That cool Stonesy kind of vibe. And then maybe that F, you can keep your pinky down. And I'm just playing an F chord without the G string, so it's an open G. And then I just move up the C chord a whole step. You get a real purty D chord. Okay, so here we go. Thing that's fun to do too. Don't always just washboard your chords. Maybe let it kind of strum through it so you hear each string, right? Right? Maybe on that big chord. Alright, so make sure you download the jam track or the drum link or loop or whatever the heck they're called so you can practice to the beat. And I promise you do a week, a month, a year of practicing to beats by the end of the time parameter you've set. Now, it can't be like a day or 5 minutes, but even 5 minutes, you'll start to improve And if you make that part of your daily regimen, you will be shocked at how much better your timing gets in a short amount of time. All right, and thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell button to be notified when the latest videos are released. Check the main channel page for other playlists like the popular Guitarists You Should Know, where I feature today's hottest touring and session guitar players. Support the cause by visiting brettpapa.com, where I take you from learning other people's songs and licks to creating your own. Catch you next time.